Good afternoon. I want to welcome every one of you, and I want to say that some of you came early because there was an ad in the paper that it went from 2 to 4, and I don't know, I didn't see it, but it happened. And we're glad you're here. We want to give you a special welcome, and we're glad if it had to happen that we didn't have to make you late. So, but I'm sorry that you came early. I hope you had some nice visiting time. I just want to tell you, most of you have registered over there. We're going to have a little drawing at the end. We're going to give you some jars with alfalfa sprouts ready that you can take home and sprout, and so 6 of you will be able to do that. And I also want to share with you coming up, even next weekend, any of you that know anyone that just would like some encouragement in their family. You know, good family communication, even a tune-up. We all can stand tune-ups. I want to welcome each of you, and that'll be next week and most of you got the flyers. And then I really appreciate this microgreen and sprouting seminar. And what I like about it, you can do it through the winter, but we also are going to have April 3rd, a gardening seminar here. So we want to welcome you back for that. I really appreciate that Steve Wohlberg, who has done sprouting for how many years now? Well, that many years of sprouting? Now that's impressive, isn't it? Not very many people can say that they actually sprouted sprouts while they were sprouting up as a teenager. So I appreciate him coming, and I hope when you leave here that you're encouraged how you can do it for yourself and be inspired to go home and do it. But before we begin, I would like to ask our pastor, Pastor David Morgan of our church, to come and offer prayer.
Good afternoon. I'd like to invite you to bow your head with me. Gracious Father in heaven, we thank you for the privilege that we have as believers in your Son Jesus, that you bless us with such amazing blessings. And we ask for your presence here. And in Jesus' name, amen.
I really appreciate Steve coming, but I want to tell you before you leave, at least I hope it's going to get here, I'm going to tell you about one other thing that we're going to pass out as an invitation. Starting April 10, and it's going to go for 8 weeks, we're going to be doing a reversing diabetes and lifestyle program if any of you want to join. Steve Wohlberg, we really appreciate you coming from White Horse Media. He is the director, he is a pastor, he is a writer, and he's a sprouter. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. Well, thank you so much. It's exciting to be here. I didn't know who would come, and it's great to see you here. I have many hats in my life. Probably my most important hat is my family. I have a family hat. You can see my two children up there, Seth and Abigail. Seth is now 17, and Abby's 14. We live in Priest River, so we're just about an hour from here, and then my wife's name is Kristen. And so my family is my top priority. I also have another hat where I am a pastor. I'm a minister. I direct a media ministry called White Horse Media that produces television programs, radio programs. Most of it is on the book of Revelation. So those are big topics, and that's kind of my field. And then I have another hat, which is a health hat. I want to stay healthy. I want to be healthy for my kids, especially as I get older. I want to keep up with them. And I have done a lot of research in health topics. I've written many, many books on different subjects. We have a little book that we'll give you for free for just being here called Sprout Power. I've decided not to give this to you during the meeting because I don't want you reading it while I'm talking. So there's a stack of these right here. So when we're done, just feel free to pick that up. As Lorraine mentioned, I started sprouting in my teens when I was probably 16 or 17 years old. I grew up in Studio City, California, went to North Hollywood High School, grew up in a very secular, materialistic environment where I got pulled into a lot of things that is a whole other story. I have another book I wrote called From Hollywood to Heaven, which tells my story of how God came into my life and changed my life and put me on a path that was a good path. But anyway, as a teenager, I got lost in a life of drugs and the wild life of the Hollywood Hills. And somehow back there, I realized that I was doing a lot of bad things for my body, and I started thinking I need to offset this by doing something good. And so I started somehow learning about how to grow sprouts and microgreens in the Hollywood Hills. And so that's how I got started, and I just got into it. I learned it was really good for me. I started growing all these things and eating big sprout salads. And then when I later on gave my life to God and started reading the Bible, I left off my bad habits, but I kept the good habits. And sprouting is a very good habit. It has helped me a lot. I'm 62. I went jogging this morning, and I don't attribute everything to growing sprouts and microgreens, but I think that this is a part of the health that I am thankful that I enjoy these days. And I understand we're streaming this, so where is can the tech guys tell me which is the camera that is streaming, or is it both cameras? Okay, this is the main one. I did send out word through our social media channels, and I think other people have done that, so I want to welcome also those who are watching online, wherever you may be, and those of you that are here. This is going to be very interesting. It's exciting to me to be able to talk about this. What I'm going to do in the time that we have, I'm basically going to divide this into 3 sections. The first part is going to be on the screen, and I'm going to go through some slides that won't take too long, and then the second part, I'm going to walk over to this table, and I'm going to show you what we've got here and some of the ways to grow sprouts and microgreens. What you see on this table, these plants, they are not plastic. These are not props. This is the real thing. There's purple Rambo radish on the corner, wheatgrass, there's sunflower, there's a big tray of peas, and then there's a number of jars with different sprouts in them, and at the very end or down farther is a colander with some of the sprouts that or microgreens that I put in there that I thought you might like to sample when we're done. And then at the very end, there is a table for any of you that happen to be interested in some of the other books that I've written that deal with prophecy in the book of Revelation and different things. So those are there if you're interested. And then when I'm done with going through how to grow these, and I'll probably take questions during that time as well, then the last section is just going to be Q&A. So if you have questions, feel free to ask. I've done this a number of times, and normally people have a lot of questions. One of the reasons why I really like sprouting, especially living up here in North Idaho, let me ask you, I'm curious, how many of you have gardens or fruit trees in your backyard? Okay, most of you do. That's good. And that's the way it is. A lot of people up here, they have gardens. But of course, you know that once October, November, December hits, the garden goes to sleep, right? The snow comes down. My raised beds have been completely buried. I'm excited to see the snow melting, and I see my 4 raised beds, rising up from the snow in the backyard, and I'm anxious to get back out there and to, get back to my gardening. But when you get to November and December and January and February, of course, we can't grow things up here. I think there's another lady that's Dawn Trammell who's been giving talks. Maybe some of you have been here about how to set up some kind of a little house and how to grow things in the winter outside. My preference is to do it a little bit differently. I grow things inside. And so I've learned that when the snow comes down, then the microgreens come up. And so I've learned how to grow these peas and sunflower, wheatgrass, purple Rambo radish. These are pretty much my staples that I buy a lot of seeds, and I just grow them on a regular basis during the winter months. So I have big, healthy sprout salads, live sprouts and microgreen salads all winter, just about every day, or as much as I can. And it's just, it's wonderful. So once you learn how to do this, you don't have to stop gardening when the snow comes down. You can continue on during the winter months. And so that's what I do, and I never really imagined when I first started sprouting as a teenager that I would ever write a book on this, or that I would ever start teaching about this, but it just seems like Providence has moved me in that direction, and so many people are interested in learning how to do it. So I've also put together an entire course. You see on the bottom there, sproutingwithsteve.com is our website. So what I'm going to do today is pretty much Sprouting 101. As you probably know, as a gardener, you learn as you go. It's trial and error. You get better as you do it. And it's the same thing with sprouting and growing microgreens. It's a learning experience. So it's not something you just get overnight, right away. And so when this is all over, if you would like more information than what we can do during this time, you can, if you'd like, you can check out our website, sproutingwithsteve.com. And that site, basically, you see a video there where I talk about the health benefits of sprouting, and then we invite people to actually join a course, which my partner and I have videoed, and we do charge for it, but it's less than $50. It's not expensive. It's a one-time charge for the rest of your life, which we think is well worth it. And then what happens is if you join the course, you'll get an email with a link, and the link will get you into a website, which is a private member website. And then you can, at your own leisure, whenever you have time, you can go into the website and you can watch all these different videos in the comfort of your home where I demonstrate practically how to grow these. We have a sprouting section, and then we have a microgreen section in soil, and then a microgreen section with just water. So that's all in the course. So if you want more than what I'm giving you today, you're certainly welcome to check out the videos, look at the page, and then join the course if you'd like. We also have a Sprouting with Steve Facebook group where people post pictures, they ask questions, and so we have a lot of things that are there. So let me just give you the slide presentation. I'm going to start out with a Bible verse. We're in a church. I've been reading the Bible for over 40 years, and there's a verse in 3 John verse 2 where the Bible says, John wrote this and said, "I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers." So the Bible definitely talks about the importance of health, and we all know how important health is. I think we do, especially as we get older. Some of you have heard of what we call the 8 laws of health. There are 8 fundamental principles to being as healthy as we can down here, and there are the principles right there. It's called an acronym, and the acronym is based on the word new start. So the N equals nutrition, and then exercise, water, sunlight, temperance, or self-control, moderation in what we eat, and then fresh air, getting enough rest, enough sleep, and then having faith in God. So these are what people have called the 8 laws of health. And I think some other people call these the 8 doctors. That if we get our exercise, if we eat a good diet, if we get enough sleep, if we get sunlight, and all these different principles, we are definitely going to boost our health. And my focus in this seminar is the N word there, the nutrition part of health. It's hard to say, which one of these principles is more important to your health because they're all important. But I place nutrition very, very high on the list. Our bodies function the best when we have a lot of good nutrients inside of us. And so nutrition is extremely important. And I think most of us know that there's a lot of people in America and around the world who are falling short in this area. They're not getting enough nutrients into their body because we eat more merchandise than food. We eat a lot of junk food. We eat a lot of fast food. We eat things that have been heavily processed. And so when we eat those things, our bodies are not getting the best nutrients that we can get. And because of poor diet and because of lack of exercise and because of not getting enough sleep, etc., we tend to get sick more than we should. And of course, sometimes the diseases that people get are very, very serious. And we're all, we're living in a time where we're in a health crisis. We're being bombarded with chemicals and toxins and sprays and different kinds of things. And our food isn't what it used to be. And even the soil, many times in commercial agriculture, the soil has been worked over and over and over again, and the soil is being depleted. So we have a lot of challenges against us. I wrote one of my books is a bigger book than a pocketbook, and it's called End Times Health War. That we are in a war for our health. And I'm sure, most of you know people that have, or maybe you have, struggled with very, very serious diseases like cancer or heart disease or diabetes. My family, my wife has a cousin who's now fighting melanoma. And I know people that have died of cancer. You probably do too. And maybe some of you are struggling with that as well. And so everything that we can do for our health is going to help us to fight against the diseases of this generation. Now, if we go all the way back to the beginning of the Bible, the first verse that we looked at was 3 John, which is right near the end of the Bible. And if we go all the way back to the beginning of the Bible, which is the book of Genesis, in chapter 1, verse 29, God said to Adam and Eve, he said, "Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed. To you it shall be for food." So the Bible says that when God made Adam and Eve, he put them in a garden, and he gave them a plant-based diet. And originally it mentions the word seed. I have given you every herb or vegetable that's bearing seed. And all the plants in this world, whether they're trees, pine trees, or vegetables in your garden, all the and even grass, everything that grows starts with what? It starts with a little tiny seed. So the seed is about as basic as we can get to the food chain. And many people they've never thought about this, they've never researched this, but there is incredible nutritional power in a simple seed. It's amazing. Seeds are miraculous. They're really, you could almost say they're supernatural, but not quite. But I believe that they were designed and put here by an infinite loving creator. Now, what happens with a seed is incredible. Seeds have nutrients in them automatically. And if you take like sunflower seeds or chia seeds or flax seeds, and if you use them in your diet, you're going to get a lot of nutrients in those seeds. But if you take a seed and if you put it in water or if you plant it in the ground and then it gets activated and it starts to germinate and it starts to grow, what happens is the nutrient content within that seed multiplies dramatically. It becomes like a little tiny factory. And so the vitamin C content starts doubling and tripling, and the different minerals and vitamins and nutrients that are inside that seed, they start multiplying. And there's a lot of research behind this, that when a seed begins to sprout, its nutrient content explodes. Here's an article from a magazine called Vitality, and it's about how sprouts are the miracle food. And this was written by Steve Meyerowitz, who was an incredible guy. He became known as the Sprout Man. He was very famous. He started his sprouting journey in New York, and he had all kinds of allergies. He was just sick, and everything he could do, he couldn't get over his allergies. And then he learned about sprouting. So he turned his New York apartment into a little garden. and he started growing all these sprouts and giving them to his neighbors. And he was amazed to discover that all of his allergies went away. They all went away. And this launched him into a career really as the sprout man. And he wrote all these books, and he had a big company, and he was very well known. And he had tests done that when he was in his 60s, his arteries were like a teenager's, and this guy was really, really healthy. And he died in an accident, which was very tragic, but he would have gone on probably for a lot longer. And in this particular article, he mentions, and there's a lot of research behind this, he said, biologists tell us that in the first 5 to 10 days, young plants achieve their maximum nutrient density. In other words, they are more nutritious than at any other point in their growth. These babies are literally overflowing with rapidly multiplying enzymes, vitamins, proteins, minerals needed for the development of the mature vegetable. B vitamins alone increase 300 to 1,500% in just 3 to 6 days. Can you imagine? Researchers have studied the nutrient profile of the life of a plant, and they have found that there's a lot of nutrients in just a raw seed, a lot. And then when you start sprouting it into a little tiny stage where the little roots come out, that's called a sprout, the sprouting stage. And the sprouts have much more nutrition than a seed has. And then if you grow the sprouts a little bit bigger into what we call the microgreen stage, and these are called microgreens, or I guess this is a micro purple because it's purple Rambo radish. Here are sprouts. These are peas. It took me just a few days to grow these, and I'll tell you more about this. But these are the sprouts, and these are the microgreens. And so researchers have found that when you grow a seed past the sprouting stage into the microgreen stage, the nutritional profile is just practically off the charts. And then if you grow, like take a broccoli seed, broccoli sprout, and then broccoli microgreen, and then if you let that broccoli grow in your garden to become a full head of broccoli, and you take the broccoli and put it in your salad, guess where you're going to get the most nutrition? It's not the full head of broccoli that you pick from your garden. It is the microgreen stage. And they found that pound for pound, there is more nutrition in a pound of broccoli microgreens than there is in a broccoli head in your garden. So that doesn't mean you shouldn't grow broccoli in your garden. Doesn't mean you shouldn't garden, but it just means that, especially during the winter, and if you don't have a garden, you can do this anytime you want, that the microgreen stage is just loaded. It's just loaded, jam-packed with nutrients. And when we get more nutrition in our bodies, then everything works better. One of the things people are dealing with is toxicity. We have a lot of chemicals so that we get from different things, household products and food, etc. And the principle is that the more nutrients we get into our body, then the body can get rid of more toxins. Nutrients in, toxins out. And our bodies are incredible. We naturally get rid of poisons. That's why we go to the bathroom. That's why we pee, we poop, we sweat, our underarms. This is because our body's getting rid of things that we don't need. And the reality is that the more nutrients you get into your body, the better your body's going to work, and the more your body's going to be able to get rid of the poisons. And of course, if we have less nutrition and more poison, then we're on the road to sickness quicker. And if we get more nutrition and the bad chemicals go out, then we're going to boost our health. So these are simple principles that are validated by science. And you can of course Google this and research this, and all the evidence is there. Here is a little chart here of some of the health benefits of growing sprouts and microgreens. They aid in digestion, they boost your immune system, which of course is one of the biggest benefits. It just helps your body work better and fight disease. The immune system is that system that God gave us so that we can fight off disease. And especially during, pandemic times and COVID times, and people are concerned about all kinds of different diseases and the virus. If our health is stronger, if the immune system is stronger, our body's going to be more able to fight off disease. It aids in weight management because sprouts are very, very low in calories. It protects the body from cancer. Broccoli sprouts especially have a substance called sulforaphane, and this has been researched that people who eat a lot of broccoli sprouts are getting a lot of sulforaphane, and sulforaphane is just a cancer killer. So it's really good to help the body fight against cancer. It improves blood circulation, helps reduce the risk of heart ailments, helps in growth and development of the body, reduces risk of neural tube defects in infants, helps prevent cataracts, macular degeneration of the eyes, inhibits the growth of cold sores, and reduces the effect of allergic reactions and asthma. Like Steve Meyerowitz found out in New York, that his allergies went away when he put a lot of nutrients into his body. And there's a lot of information on this. You can just, continue to research. When we're done, I've got a number of books up here you can just take a look at. These books, this is the for sale table. The books are just a few dollars, but these are my books, so don't take these, just look at them. This is a book about the healing power of chlorophyll. Here's Sprout Power. This is a great book. Here's another one on growing sprouted grains. And here's one about wheatgrass and living food. And then this is a great microgreen book by Fiona Hill. And I've read all these books, and I've just absorbed this information, and I'm convinced that sprouting is good for my body. And somebody once asked me, I was on a radio show, there was a show called The Power Hour. It's a national show that deals with nutritional topics. And I was on that show a couple months ago, and the host, Dave Krieger, he asked me, he just kind of threw a curveball. He said, now, do you eat other things besides sprouts? Do you just eat sprouts? And I said, no, of course I eat other things. So I do, I have breakfast in the morning, and I do eat different foods. But especially in the winter, I try to have a sprout salad almost every day, a microgreen salad. So I'm getting just live food, and I'll let you taste this when we're done. I've got some buckwheat here, some sunflower, some peas, and some purple Rambo radish. We just, this kind lady took it over and washed it for me. And so you're welcome just to pick and take a taste. And this is really, sometimes my salads, this is my salad. I eat the whole thing. And I put avocado in there, lemons, some seasonings, some tomatoes. And I tell you, if you've never eaten a fully live salad loaded with microgreens and sprouts that you just grew, it's kind of like you don't know what you're missing. It's just fabulous to do this. My top 10 reasons to sprout. Number 1, much of the food that people eat is either dead or heavily processed. When you grow and eat freshly cut sprouts, you are eating nutritionally loaded live food that is far superior to practically anything you can eat. And I pretty much covered that already. And number 2 already, when a tiny seed germinates and sprout, its protein, vitamin A, B complex, C and E, mineral, trace mineral contents increase dramatically, sometimes hundreds of times from what was in the original seed. Sprouts are powerhouses of nutrition. Number 3, when you grow and eat your own sprouts and microgreens, you are eating organic food that has not been sprayed with cancer-causing pesticides like Roundup. Organic food is expensive. We all know food's going up these days. Gas is going up, food's going up. And growing your own food is much, much cheaper. If you go to a market, and if you can buy a little plastic container of alfalfa sprouts for about $4 or $5. But you can buy a whole bag of alfalfa sprouts or alfalfa seeds for maybe $5. And with this little bag, you can grow alfalfa in jars or little trays. You can grow 10 times the amount. 10 times the amount for the same amount of money. So it's much more economical to buy seeds and to learn how to sprout. Number 4, when you buy fruits and vegetables in a supermarket, they have usually been harvested weeks before you buy them, and during each day of storage, transportation, and sitting in the produce section, they lose nutritional value slowly, little by little. But when you eat freshly harvested homegrown sprouts immediately, which is what I usually do, you get their full nutrition content. Many times I'm at my house or in my kitchen, and I'll take my scissors and I'll cut off just, maybe a portion of this in the bowl. I'll take my sunflower, cut off another portion of this in the bowl, and then cut off some peas in the bowl, and maybe add some sprouts, and I'm cutting them, and they're just, live food going right into my salad. So it's hard to beat. There's just so much nutrition that you are getting when you're eating live food. Number 5, purchased at a supermarket, the average price, I mentioned this, for a small plastic container of alfalfa sprouts is $4. But if you buy a small packet of alfalfa seeds and grow them yourself, you may get 10 times the sprouts for the same price. Number 6, even if you don't have land, a garden, or an orchard, you can still grow a fabulous indoor garden and eat fresh, non-GMO, organic vegetables every day. Now, we most of us live in the country. Even if you live, in Coeur d'Alene, it's better than living in Los Angeles. So most of us have some kind of land where we can have a garden if we want to, but especially for people that live in cities or in apartments where they don't have any land, or maybe they don't have a green thumb, they don't know what to do, they don't want to pick weeds, or they don't have time to do it. The answer is learning how to sprout. It's very simple, and there's no weeding. That's great. So it's a lot easier. Number 7, even if you don't have a green thumb, you can still learn to grow beautiful, mouth-watering fresh sprouts and microgreens like a pro. Number 8, even if you have limited space in your house or apartment, all you need is a sink, some seeds, a jar or two, some small containers, and some small places on your windowsill or in your cupboard to grow lots of fresh sprouts. So most of us have rooms somewhere to take a jar and to grow something in the jar. Number 9, sprouts and microgreens are very high in fiber, which helps undigested food pass quickly from the body so it doesn't have time to rot within, contributing to colon cancer. Sprouting helps keep the plumbing humming, as they say. It keeps things moving because it's got fiber inside the plants. Number 10, sprouts and microgreens contain powerful properties that will enhance your immune system, which will help your body fight diseases like cancer. And number 11, the bonus reason is that growing sprouts and microgreens is a lot of fun once you learn to do it. Kids get excited about watching something grow. My kids enjoy eating, especially the sunflower sprouts and microgreens. So now let me show you just a little simple demonstration of how to do this. And I always start people with sprouting. This is the easiest thing. And then you can advance to the microgreens if you want to. But even if you don't want to grow microgreens, you can get so much nutrition in just growing sprouts in jars. And let me tell you how absolutely incredibly easy this is. I think most of you, have you heard of lentils? Just about everybody has. How many of you have lentils in your house? Okay, most of you do. You can go down to any market pretty much and buy a bag of lentils for about $1. And what you do, this is very simple, and I'm going to show you, this is one jar that I grew. What you do is you just you get yourself a jar, and the main sprouting jars people use are wide mouth, 1-quart mason jars. And on Amazon, you can buy sprouting lids, like this one, that has holes, a screen with holes, and then you just put the lid on, and that allows you to pour the water out. So anyway, what you do is you just take a jar. You could do this tonight before you go to bed. If you have a jar, and you don't actually need a sprout jar or a quart jar. You can use any jar. Any jar will work. So you just get your jar and put about this much seeds in there, about 1 inch, and then fill it up with water. And do this before you go to bed. Not too hard, right? Pretty simple. And then in the morning, you pour out the water. Now, by the time when you put the seeds in at night, in the morning, they will have doubled. because they're getting activated. They're now alive because the water. So here's some of the seeds that I put in one jar, and I did this on a Monday morning. And then let's see, 5 hours later, so these I didn't do overnight, these I did in the morning. 5 hours later, look at the difference. They just grow right up. And as your seeds are expanding, you know you have good seeds. Most lentils in the market will sprout. You might every once in a while get a bad batch that doesn't sprout, but I've never had a bad batch from lentils that I've gotten in a market. So they will grow most of the time. So 5 hours later, that's what you have. So then what you do, and what I did is 5 hours later, I just poured out the water. Get it all out as much as you can. And it's good to find a way to tilt your jars. Now, I've got kind of a pretty sophisticated little system here. You can get these little jar stands on Amazon for sprouts. And what I do is I normally put this on some kind of a sheet or in a little pan or in the sink or wherever. And then you just keep the water out, because once the idea is you take the seeds and you give them a bath one time. You soak them completely one time. And then after either 5 hours or in the morning, you pour out the water. You tilt the jar to keep as much water out. You want to get as much water out because seeds don't like to grow when they're sitting in water. And then what you do is you just rinse them twice a day. Give them a shower twice a day. So you give them a bath once, and you give them a shower twice a day. And so with this particular jar, 5 hours later, that's what I had. And then I poured out the water into the sink, and then I put them, in this case, I put them in a little container so I could just keep the jar tilted. And you really don't, you don't really need to do it. It's the best way to do it, but if you don't have a little container or one of those little one of those little jar, holders, you can always just stick it right on your counter, anywhere you want, and it'll still work. And so I just drained them out, and then I tilted the jar, and then that was Monday morning. By Tuesday morning, look at that, they're starting to sprout. And then here is Wednesday, and those seeds went all the way up to the top, and there I have a full jar of sprouts. Now, how long did that take? From Monday to Wednesday. It took 2 days. 2 days. And I think I've been growing these for 3 days. So these are, you can see this, I started, what's today? Sunday. I think I started these Thursday late afternoon. I put my seeds in there, I put the water in. By Thursday night, before I went to bed, I poured out the water. And then Friday, I rinsed them twice a day, put the water in, pour it out. Saturday, I put the water in, poured it out. Sunday morning, I put the water in, poured it out. And since Thursday evening to today, this is what I got. And it literally took me seconds to do this. I mean, it didn't take, 5 hours. All you do is put the seeds in, put the water in, put it on the counter, and go to bed. In the morning, pour the water out. In the evening, put some water in at your sink and pour the water out. In the morning, you do it again, and by the time you've gone 2 or 3 days, you got a whole jar of sprouts. It's pretty easy, isn't it? And then you can just open the lid, and you can put this right into your salad. Now, lentils have a very mild flavor, kind of an earthly flavor. Personally, I put lentils on a lot of things in the morning. I put them in my granola. I put them in my oatmeal. I sprinkle them on my waffles. I put them on my salads when I have lunch. And I did the same method with barley. No, let me see. Is that barley or rye? I think it's rye. I have it's rye, organic rye. I got these at Bushels in Diamond Lake. There's a health food store there. You buy a bag of organic rye, and I did the same thing. And I kind of overshot these. I should have. Rye, it only takes really a day and a half to 2 days. And it's now been 3 days because I started this also Thursday evening. And these are now a little bit bigger than I would normally grow them. I like my rye really small, and I put them right on my cereal. They're very mild. They don't have a lot of flavor, but they've got a lot of nutrients. So you do the same thing. Rye is one of my favorite grains to sprout, and these are peas. Here's a jar of peas, same method. Put the water in, put the seeds in, soak them overnight or for 5 hours, pour the water out, and rinse them 2 times a day, and probably after 3 days, they're a little bit slower to grow, 3 to 4 days, this is what you get. So peas grow great in jars, lentils grow great in jars, rye, barley grows great in jars, and I just think to myself, if people only knew how simple this is, how easy it is, and once they got into the habit of doing it, I mean, you could grow a ton of sprouts with just a jar, some seeds, and a sink. That's really all you need. And if you don't have a sprouting lid on top, or if you're waiting to get that, you can use a strainer, strainers, ladies, when you cook in your kitchen, where you pour like pasta, the water out. You can pour the water right out and use the strainer. With lentils, they're big seeds. You can even use your hands if you want. You can just, kind of block the seeds from going out. I mean, there's more than one way to skin a cat, as they say, and there's lots of ways to do this. And it's so simple, it's easy to do, and once you get into a habit of doing this, you can be eating fresh food every day. And the benefits to your body is going to be phenomenal because you're getting so much nutrition that's just extremely good. Now then, if you want to advance to the microgreen stage, and this is what I have here, microgreens that I've grown. And like I said, this is just kind of 101. I don't, can't show you everything in the time that we have, but let me just walk you through how I grew these. What I did was here I got, these are trays. This is a 10 by 10 tray. You can also get 10 by 20 trays if you want to grow a little bit more. You can get these at a nursery. You can get them at Walmart. You can get them at Ace Hardware. And so anyway, what I did was I took my tray, and if you want to grow them, this is how I grow them in dirt. And then I'll tell you about no dirt before we're done. But this is what I do, is I go to a nursery or Lowe's or Walmart or Ace Hardware, go into the garden section, and you want to buy a bag of organic potting mix. And there's all kinds of different brands out there, so I don't have any one particular brand that I recommend. I went to, I think it was Ace Hardware, and I got this. And this particular one was Black Gold, natural and organic potting mix plus fertilizer. And it says in here that it also has earthworm castings, which are very good for plants to grow. So this is the particular bag that I bought. Just cost maybe $5 or $6 or $7. And then what I do, and I've already used all this, I pour it. Sometimes I take a little container and I scoop it out, or I hold it and I pour it, and I put it in my tray. And you can use all kinds of trays. This particular tray, I think, was a shelf that I got at a yard sale, and I looked at that and I thought, that is a perfect tray to grow microgreens. My wife came home once with a thing of chocolate, and she ate the chocolates, and there was a nice container at the bottom, and I thought, I'm going to use that to grow microgreens. And you can, if you go to Taco Bell, or you can buy, once you eat your salad or whatever you eat, you can use the tray, the little container. There's all kinds of things that you've got in your kitchen that you can use to grow microgreens if you get creative. So what I did was I put the potting soil, any organic potting soil, and I put probably about halfway up here, about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. Just pour it in, I break it up, I smooth it out, and it's really not, it's kind of light and fluffy. It's not super dirty, and I just put it in there. And then what I did was I take my seeds, and this particular tray here, you see this is buckwheat, those are peas, and that looks like sunflower at the top there. And so I put my soil in there, and then let's say I'm taking my buckwheat. Now I really like buckwheat, and I've brought a container that I use, that I buy. I bought this for, I don't remember how much it was, not too much, 5 pounds of buckwheat seeds. Buckwheat is a great, mild microgreen. By the way, in my course, I tell people that I get just about all of my seeds and most of my supplies from a company called True Leaf Market. True Leaf Market, they're in Utah. You can go on their website, trueleafmarket.com, and they are a fantastic company. They've got great seeds. They're not expensive. If you order more than $45, it's free shipping. They're normally very fast, and I bought this container at True Leaf Market. And so what I did was I just put the dirt on there about halfway up, and then I reach in and I grab my seeds, and I just, you can use a little container, or you can use your fingers. I typically use my fingers, and you just sprinkle them on there like this. I don't put too many seeds on. I don't want them on top of each other, but I don't want a lot of big spaces. So it's just kind of an even seeding. And then once I've got them on there, then I will typically use my spray bottle to start with. Oh, also, I forgot. I kind of push them in so they're in their little bed. And then I use my handy dandy spray bottle. This is really great for microgreens. And I just give them a good soak, a really good soak. You don't want to drown them. You don't want to see puddles, but you don't want them to be dry. You just want to give them a good soak and get them started. And the reason why I use a spray bottle to start with is because I don't want to, like I could put this under my sink and I could use the spray from my sink, but I don't want to blast them around. I want to just keep them in their bed so they're nice and where I want them where I planted them. So that's why I use a spray bottle. And then all you do, get them a good soak, and you cover them with another tray, same kind of tray, cover them, and stick them somewhere, hopefully where it's dark. Seeds like to start out in the dark. That's what seeds do when you plant them in the ground. They're under the ground. And so I have a closet that I use, or I also have some shelving. Most of the time I put them in the closet, or I'll put them on the shelf. And it's not it's not an exact science. They'll probably grow either way, but the idea is to give them a good moistening and keep them in the dark. And then what I do is 24 hours later, I check on them and I lift my lid. Oh, how are you guys doing? And I look at them, and I typically will give them another spray, give them a good soak, spray them down, and then cover them again for another 24 hours. And by within 2 days, and when I lift my lid up, they're going to start coming up. I'm going to start seeing the sprouts, and then I spray them again, and then I cover them again. I typically keep my seeds in the dark for about 4 days, maybe 5. And once they're growing enough, then I take the lid off and I put them on a counter or on a table somewhere where they can get light through the window. Some people use grow lights. I've tried them, but I've never really used them very much. I prefer simplicity, and you get plenty of light just coming right in from the window. That's really all you need. And now sometimes, so that's what I did with these. I did the buckwheat, I did the peas. Now actually, let me tell you, with peas expand quite a bit when you water them. So with peas, because they're bigger seeds, I will soak them for about 5 hours, and then they'll get bigger, and then I sprinkle them on my tray, because I don't want them, kind of all on top of each other when they start getting bigger. So I space them out a little bit, and I've soaked the peas first. Sunflower, which is the ones on the top here, I don't soak those at all anymore. I just sprinkle them on, not too many, not on top of each other, but you get the idea, right? You just give it a good, even, and again, the more you do this, the better you get. And after 2 or 3 or 4 days, they'll be growing. And so in that particular case, I just covered them. So here's the sunflowers after a couple of days. See, they're growing. Now, if you look really close, you'll see a couple of those, and I think I have another picture. A couple of them have these little hairs. Now, some people freak out when they take the lid off and they see, well, here's these little hairs. These are root hairs. This is not mold. This is buckwheat. After a couple days, they're starting to grow. Everybody that grows microgreens professionally in greenhouses or however, they all know that we have to kind of watch out for mold. It's something that everybody has to do. And so what I do is I have my regular sprayer where I just spray them down, and I spray them until they get settled in. And once they're settled in, then I don't use this anymore. I take them over, after maybe 3 days, I take it over to my sink, and I use my, the faucet part that you push the button and it starts to spray. And I just give it a gentle spray up and down, and I'm done. And that's quicker than using the spray bottle. But I use the spray bottle at first because I don't want to disturb them. But once they get settled in, then I use my sprayer from my sink. And if I see any root hairs or even a little bit of mold, which I've seen sometimes, then what I do is I have another little spray bottle, and this is my mold killer. And you just fill it up with water, and there's 2 things that I use that are very good. One of them is grapeseed extract. You can get this from True Leaf Market or a health food store, and I put 1 or 2 drops of grapeseed extract in my water. Or I will put, let's see, where did I get? Oh, yes. This is hydrogen peroxide, regular, great, 3%. You can buy it at any market for about $1, and you put maybe a cap, or for a spray bottle like this, just maybe half a cap. Put a half a cap in there, or a couple of drops of this, and then it becomes a mold killer. And so when I take the lid off, if I see anything in there that looks like a little tiny bit of mold because it's damp, when the lid's on top of it, or if I see some of those little root hairs, which sometimes means because I've overwatered a little bit, then I just and zap them with this, and that normally takes care of that. And so after about 4 to 5 days, here's your sunflower and here's your buckwheat, same thing with peas or whatever other microgreen you choose to use. Then what happens once they're growing more, okay, this is a couple days later. Here you can see the peas starting to come up. Here's sunflower, peas, and buckwheat. And once you can see there's little leaves that are starting to come out. Once they get a little bit bigger, where the leaves are there, the yellow leaves, then I think, okay, time to get your sunlight. And then I take my tray off and I put it on my table or somewhere in my house where it's getting sunlight from the window. It doesn't have to be direct sunlight. If I just grew them right here, the sunlight coming from those windows is plenty to green them up. So you start them in the dark, you cover them for a few days, you keep them moist but not drowning. The idea is just, keep them moist but don't drown them. Once a day you check them, and after 4 or 5 days you take the lid off and you put it on a counter, and in a few more days this is what you're going to get. This is what you're going to get. Here's a purple Rambo radish that I started. It takes about 8 days to grow purple Rambo radish. Same method, although you can see this is just a little tin container here, and I put about this much dirt, sprinkled on the seeds, moistened them. I have another one of these tin containers or lids, and I put that on top so I could keep it in the dark, put it in the closet, took it out, took the lid off, checked on them, sprayed anything I saw I didn't want to see, and kept them moist, put the lid back on, and you do this 3 or 4 days, and once they're growing well enough, you take the lid off and put them on the counter, and after 4 more days, this is what you're going to get. Now, once they start getting bigger, of course, I'm watering at the sink by now. Now I'm not watering with this anymore. I'm watering at the sink. And when they're about halfway up, I can still water them with a sprayer. And some people, when they grow microgreens, they use containers that have holes on the bottom so the excess water will drain out. I've learned that I don't need that, and I never use that. All these trays here have no holes, and I've just learned that if you just, monitor how much water you put on it, you're fine. So with the spray bottle, or then putting it under the sink and using the sprayer, my goal is to keep them moist, but I don't want to see puddles. And if I put too much water and I see puddle, then I just, I pour it out on the side. And when they get about this stage, at this stage, I would just take them over to the sink, pull it back like this, and put the nozzle right down there, or a cup, fill the cup up with water and pour it in. And then if I see, too much, then I'll pour it out into the sink. And by the time they get this big, the roots have pretty much, they have connected with the soil. They're binding the soil. And so by this time, when you put water in, and all you want to do is just keep them moist. That's all you do. And so when you pour the water out, it's not going to be like you're pouring dirt into your sink, because the roots have bound to the dirt. And so that's the way you do it. Same thing with the wheatgrass. This grew right up, started them in the dark. Once they got big enough, they were starting to get a little bit yellow, and I could see. I took the lid off and I exposed it to the light. And this is wheatgrass takes about 10 days. And you can see here that this is pretty much also, it's, well, maybe I can't lift that up. There you go. See that? And you notice there's no mold on this at all. One of the things it's important too is to keep the temperature cool in the room. If the temperature is on the hot side, they're more likely to get mold. Mold is not a deal killer as long as you don't have too much. If you have too much, then of course you don't want that. It's not deadly mold. It's whatever kind of mold grows on the bottom of microgreens. You can easily zap it with hydrogen peroxide or something else, and it's not going to be a problem. And then when you cut them, if there is anything on the bottom, you cut above that line. And I take a scissors. It's not rocket science. Where's my scissors? I got a scissors somewhere around here. And then I just cut them out right on the bottom, give it a haircut. And then with wheatgrass, of course, you can't put this on your salad. Wheatgrass is incredibly healthy. People say that wheatgrass has every nutrition that the body needs. There's a lady named Ann Wigmore who pioneered wheatgrass. She got into wheatgrass. She created all these institutes where she was using wheatgrass therapeutically for people that were sick, and just pumping their body with chlorophyll and nutrition, and people got well. And she was in her 80s traveling around the world with boundless energy, and she died in fire. And she probably would have lived to be over 100 because she was putting wheatgrass into her body. Now, how do you eat wheatgrass? I prefer a juicer like this, which is called a Hurricane, and you clamp it on to the side of a sink or something, and you put your handle on here. This is a manual, and so I just cut it off, put the wheatgrass in there, and then put a little bowl on the bottom here. There's 3 little holes here, and the juice comes out, and the pulp comes out here. It's easy to clean, stainless steel, and you just crank it, and within a few minutes, you get good exercise by doing this. You'll have a little container or a cup with wheatgrass juice, and wheatgrass juice is extremely potent. Personally, I don't drink it. Sometimes I do, but I'm not in the habit of drinking it straight. I like to put a little grape juice in there or apple juice in there and sweeten it up, and then down the hatch. And if you put a lot of wheatgrass into your body, I tell you, it's incredible. If you don't want to buy a juicer, there are simpler juicers you can get on Amazon, wheatgrass juicers. You can also, the poor man's way to do it is to just put the grass in a blender. Put some water in there, blend it up. Your water will turn green, and then you pour it out through a strainer into your cup, and then put some grape juice in there or apple juice in there, and down the hatch. So that's the way to use wheatgrass juice. Sunflower, this is the king of micros. This is my favorite. My kids love this. It's very mild tasting, like sunflowers. And these you can see, maybe let's see a little bit of dirt from that. See that? That's pretty much, it eats up almost most of the dirt. One reason why I like trays without hole is when I'm done and I harvest them, I just dump this in my compost bin, and easy to clean, and that's it. If you use trays with holes, then you have to clean out the roots from the holes, and it's just a little bit harder. And I prefer just the simple thing. When I'm done harvesting this, off it goes and into the compost bin. And I wash this, and it's ready to go. Here's the peas. This is about, sunflower takes about 2 weeks, wheatgrass about 10 days, purple Rambo radish about 9 days. Peas are very easy to grow. They're almost indestructible. As I mentioned, I soak them for a few hours, and then I sprinkle them on the dirt. And I'm not going to lift up this, but these are almost done. Sunflowers, you want to eat them before they get another set of leaves, because they start getting bitter. So just the first set of leaves, they're ready. And then peas is very, very good. If you grow these too big, they're going to get a little tougher. So I clip them when they're this size or a little bit bigger. The wonderful thing about peas is you can give this a full haircut, and you can keep watering it once a day, and you'll get a second crop. You don't get it. You can get a second crop with wheatgrass, but it's not that good. I never get a second crop with sunflower, and nor purple Rambo radish. These are some of the ones that I grow a lot. Another one that I grow that I really like, and I don't have anything to show you here except my little bag, and I have a few of the seeds left in here because I've already grown them and eaten them. This is nasturtium. Nasturtium is a very interesting Indian microgreen that's just bursting with flavor. So same method. So these are all, I grow these out of soil. Something else with buckwheat or with sunflower is that when they start getting bigger, when you put them on a table, you want to make sure you don't put them on the edge of the table, because as sunflower starts growing, their sunflower seeds are going to start falling off. Here's the shell of the seed. And if you put them right on the edge of the table, the seeds are going to start falling on the floor. So when I use buckwheat and sunflower, I typically put them away from the edge so that the next day when I see the little seeds falling around the edge, I can easily just scrape them out and put them in the trash or on my aloe vera plant. I do that too. So giving you a lot of fast information here. So that's those are those different kinds of seeds. Something else I often do is I use trays like this. I don't know if you've ever seen these little trays, and I'm kicking myself because I didn't bring an extra lid. But this is called a sprout garden. You can get this on Amazon or from True Leaf Market. And this is what I do with the smaller seeds, like alfalfa, broccoli, clover. What I'll do is I'll take a little jar like this, take one of the jars, I'll put about just a little bit of seeds in there, maybe this much seeds, and then I'll soak them for about 4 hours, not that long. And then once that's done, I drain the water out, and I do this for probably 2 days. Give them a bath once, give them a shower twice a day for 2, maybe 3 days. And once they start growing, then I put them under the sink, and I get the water in the jar, and I pour them in these little trays. Now these trays, Sprout Garden, they have little holes on the side, so the water, when you water them, will go out these holes. So I get them like this. I kind of, balance them out and get them so they're nice and organized. And then once they're in their bed, I use the spray bottle because I don't want to disturb them. I want them to be in that spot. So I spray them, give them a good soak, and then I cover them. And there's another one of these lids, which I didn't bring with me, but you've got one on the bottom, this on the top, and then another one on top like that. So that's the way it sits in the dark for a day. When you're not using dirt, you might want to check them twice a day. With dirt, you just check them once a day. With no dirt, you check them twice a day, because the idea is you don't want to drown them, but you don't want them to dry out. So I just do that, and then I take my lid off, and I check them, take my spray bottle, and put them back in their bed. And you do this a couple times a day, and then once they start growing and getting rooted, then I can put them right under the sink. Now this right here, you'll see that white stuff on there. This is not mold, but when you're growing things without dirt. Now here's a sample of this. There's no dirt in here. This is a little bed of arugula. Let's see if I can get this out of here. You like arugula? There's arugula. No dirt, but there's a little mat on the bottom. And this is what I use when I grow hydroponically. If you don't want to use dirt, you can still grow with a mat. And the mats are called micromats. Micromats. You can get these from True Leaf Market. There are these mats, and they come in different sizes. I put some little ones in there, and here's bigger ones that I would put in a 10 by 10 tray, like this. So what I did with these little ones was I put the mats on there, and I put some water in here, and I got them moist. Micromats are really good. They're totally organic. They hold water very well. So I've got 3 little micromats in there, and I moisten them first so they're nice and damp, and then I sprinkle my arugula on top. This is red cabbage. I sprinkle my red cabbage on top, and this is red arrow radish, and this is my red cabbage. And I sprinkle the seeds on there, sprinkle them on, and then what I do, because there's no dirt, if you're growing hydroponically, you want to have a growing medium, which is your micromat. And then you also, it's not necessary, but it's good to add some extra nutrition. And so True Leaf Market sells a little bag of this called azomite. And it's a powder that's got all the minerals. And you can also use, I've got another jar here of just green clay. You can buy green clay at a health food store. And so what I do is when I moistened first I moisten the mats, and then I take the azomite and I just sprinkle it on the mats because it's giving it minerals. And then I take my seeds and I sprinkle my seeds on there. And then I take my spray bottle and I give them a little more of a mist. So that's what you're seeing here. In this particular case, there's no dirt there, but I decided to put some azomite on top to give them more nutrition. Or maybe it was the green clay there. And here is purple Rambo radish. This was the container. And so this is purple Rambo radish. And you can just, if you use the azomite, and if you give them a little spray and keep them moist, and then when they get bigger, you use your sink, you will get a tray of purple Rambo radish just like this. You'll get the same thing just like in that case, but you don't need dirt. So you can pick and choose what you want. You can use the jars, the simple way. You can use potting soil, or you can transition and you can grow them on micromats. And I just experimented with these little ones. In my course, we actually just redid the whole microgreen section in soil, and a week from today we're going to redo the section on hydroponics. And so I've been practicing and getting ready because I always learn the more I do it. So with something like this, I would put some water in there and let it get nice and moist. Then I would put my seeds on there, sprinkle them on, not too many, but just enough. And then I would put on the azomite, just give it a little sprinkling to give them extra nutrition. And then I would use my spray bottle, and I'd make sure they're nice and moist. Then I would cover them and put them in the dark. And then 12 hours later or 24 hours, I'd check them. Normally, when you're not using dirt, you need to check them a little bit more because they can dry out a little bit quicker. So then you just spray them down and do the same method. And so whether you're doing it in dirt or whether you're doing it hydroponically, you can still do it. So the more you learn about this, you decide, do you want to use just jars? Do you want to advance to microgreens? Do you want to try it microgreens in soil or in no soil? And the more you do it, it'll work. So here's some of the things. So you can see the sunflowers. Now I took them out of the closet. The peas, the buckwheat, they're getting bigger. Here they're a little smaller. Here they're getting bigger. You can see how they grow in the trays. There's the purple Rambo radish. There's no dirt in those trays. That's all hydroponic. Sometimes I put them on my windowsill. One of the great things about these sprout garden trays is you can stack them up. So you can have a whole stack in one little area. And so you do that and you learn as you go, and before you know it, you're ready for the harvest. You're ready for a fresh, live salad. Here they are a little bit more advanced. You can see the buckwheat on the left, the sunflower in the middle, peas on the right, and the purple Rambo radish in the middle, and the other ones are probably alfalfa or clover. And again, I used the trays, the circular trays for the little seeds. I used the microgreens in dirt for the bigger seeds, and then I typically will use the micro mats hydroponically, normally not with the bigger seeds. Sunflower does not do well. It's hard to grow sunflower on micro mats. Peas will do fine, and buckwheat, you can do that too. Same with purple Rambo radish. They'll go both ways. One of the great things about True Leaf Market's website is you can look up all these different kinds of seeds, and then you can and it'll tell you this is soil, or this is hydroponic, or this is both. And this is how long it takes. This is what to do. So True Leaf Market is a fantastic store. I know one of the owners of the store. I told him that I was going to be doing this whole course, and I said, how would you like to, let's work together. Would you be willing to send me some free seeds and trays and things that I can demonstrate, and I'll point everybody back to you to get your seeds? And he said, that sounds like a good deal. So a whole bunch of seeds they just gave me for free. And they actually gave me that hurricane juicer for free. And a lot of people have joined our course, and many people buy their seeds from True Leaf Market. So we have a good relationship, and they're a great company. Here's buckwheat on the left. When it's fully grown, it's just beautiful. I didn't have a tray here to show you because I ate it. I ate it. And because once you get to a certain point, it's time for harvest. And I didn't want to keep it going beyond the point where it's ready for harvest. And so I think it was on Friday, it was time to harvest the buckwheat, and then some of that is in that bowl on the corner there, so you can try it. This is also just a sample of what a microgreen, peas, buckwheat, sunflower, peas, different purple Rambo radish, what a nice living salad looks like. Doesn't it look good? And then you put whatever kind of seasonings you want on there, and it's just, it's fantastic. So that's I think my last slide here. Again, I've kind of walked you through this. In my course, we have a motto, and the motto is, you can do this. You can do the jars. You can do the microgreens in soil if you want. You can do the hydroponic if you want. It's not that difficult once you get into it and start doing it. And again, our main website is sproutingwithsteve.com, so that if you want to actually, step by step, watch me doing this in front of you on these videos, then you can, if you want, you can join the course. Like I said, it's less than $50, one-time fee for the rest of your life. You get an email back that will give you a login information to a website, and all the videos are right there. You can see all the sprouting where I show you how to grow clover, lentils, mung, peas, garbanzo beans, a lot of other things that I didn't show here. sunflower seeds as in sprouts, and then we have the whole microgreen section in the soil and hydroponically. So that's what we have on our website, sproutingwithsteve.com. You can join the group of us that are doing this, or you can just take what I've told you, and you can take the plunge. And I think I've given you enough information so that anybody here, I think for sure you can grow lentils definitely in a jar. You can do it tonight. Today's Sunday. By Wednesday you can have lentil sprouts. If you put rye in a container tonight, by Tuesday you'll have rye sprouts. You can do this with peas. You can do this with a lot of different seeds. Once you just learn the method, or the soil method, or the microgreen methods on the mats, a lot of variety, lots of different ways to do it. This is how I've learned to do it, and it works for me. It works. So, questions? Okay, wow. Okay, let's start here.
How do you spell azomite?
Azomite, yes. A-Z-O, where is my little azomite container here? Yes. A-Z-O-M-I-T-E. And Parker Garlitz is the main man and his sister at True Leaf Market. Parker's a great guy. He and I have been in touch off and on. He's the one that decided to send me all this free seeds so I could demonstrate these. And he sells this, and he said they called it azomite because it's got from the minerals from A to Z. Azomite, A to Z. It's got all the minerals. And it's good to add extra minerals when you're not using dirt. Many times when you're done with something like wheatgrass, there's hardly any dirt left in here. There's not much. See that? It has eaten the dirt. And so you have good organic potting soil, and it has grown right up there. Also, I didn't tell you about wheatgrass. Once the grass gets to the point where it starts to divide, you'll see little divisions. That's the peak nutrition. That's where you cut it. Put it in your blender or put it in a juicer, and you juice up your wheatgrass. And so, but there's nutrients in the soil. So when you're growing, if you're growing wheatgrass without soil, that's why you put the azomite on there. And you can do this a couple of times, not just at the very beginning. You could do it after a couple days. You can put a little more on there, and it'll absorb it right in, and the plants will be healthier. So if there's more minerals in the plant, and when you eat the plant, then where are the minerals? They're in you. That's right. Okay, yes, next question over here. Oh, sure. Yes, thank you.
Instead of eating all these with salad, what I do is I've been juicing for quite a while, and I just wanted to know is when I juice all of this, am I getting the same nutrients? I have been doing a lot of wheatgrass that I buy at the store, and so anyway, I want to know if you get the nutrients.
Yes, if you sprout. I actually have another look. If you juice them, I have another little book. I didn't bring it with me. It's on our website. We have those who join my course get it for free as a download. We also have it as a little book on whitehorsemedia.com, which is our main ministry. And I have another little book called Juice Your Way to Fabulous Health, and it's all about juicing. So I'm a big juicer as well, especially in the winter and certain times. So if you juice all of this, you're going to get all the nutrients except the fiber. You won't get the fiber. That's the pulp that comes out. So I do both. You're definitely getting a lot of nutrition when you juice, for sure. And if you eat them, you're getting the same nutrition plus the fiber. Yes.
I have kind of the opposite question of him. If you eat the wheatgrass, just chop it up small in a salad, are you getting the same nutritional value as juicing?
I think so, yeah. Although with wheatgrass, it's chewy and it doesn't. So some people kind of, chew it like gum and suck out the juice. It's very good for your gums. And then they just spit out the pulp.
And then a second question. For the seeds, is there any reason you couldn't just have it upside down on your counter?
Yes. In fact, that's why
instead of at an angle?
That's why this particular lid has these bigger, it's like a crown, And so you can just put this, right there like that.
Okay.
Or you can tip it, in different places. Or, like I said, if you get all the water out, you can really just let it sit just like this. Or you can lean it like this.
Many
You can
options.
throw it around. You can do whatever you want. It'll still grow. But the idea behind tipping the jar is that you want to get as much water out as you can, because once the seeds start to grow, you'll notice that if you have water at the bottom, those seeds won't be growing as well. So the more water you get out, then they grow better. Now here's another little tip. I've noticed that if you underwater just a little bit, when they start getting a little bit dry, they grow faster. But you don't want to let them go too long. So like with peas, you can do peas once a day. And then they'll really give you a growth spurt because they're looking for water. That's why they grow faster. But the safer thing to do is to do it twice a day. But you can do it once a day, and you can experiment and you learn as you go. Yes?
I have two questions. One, is the water, excuse me, that you soak the seeds in have any nutritional value, or is it just...
No. Now, some people are concerned a little bit about one of the ways to kind of extra protect yourself from any mold is when you soak the seeds in water the first time, you can put a couple drops of hydrogen peroxide or a little bit of grapeseed extract, and that will sanitize them even more. I typically don't do that, but it's not a bad thing to do. So, but there's, the water's the water. Some people say, well, what water should you use? Should you only use distilled water or reverse osmosis water or mineral water? The main thing is to use water and to do it. If the water that you have, if you live in the city and your water has heavy metals or chlorine, it's better to use filtered water. But if you don't have any other options, you're certainly better off using your regular water than not using your water. So, there's always best and then there's ideal. I mean, if you're a purist, then you use only filtered water. But the main thing is to activate those seeds and get them growing and then keep them moist but not drown them, and then they will grow.
Okay, the second question is, how long are they good for?
Good question. It depends. Now, True Leaf Markets, one of their wonderful features is that they test all their seeds and that their germination rate is very high. Now, sometimes they say, that after 3 or 4 or 5 years, like in your garden, you buy a packet of seeds, and they may not, if you've had them around for 10 years, they may not grow as well. So seeds tend to decline. What I do with my seeds, if I don't grow them in the winter, I put them in the refrigerator or the freezer. I have a little tray, and I put them in the freezer, and that's fine for them, and it helps them last a little bit longer. My wife, her mother had a container like this of alfalfa seeds that she had bought some time ago, and she never used them. And she had them for like 10 years. And once she knew that I was into sprouting, she decided, I'm going to give Steve and Christy my seeds. So we had a whole big can of alfalfa, and sure enough, after 8 or 10 years, when she had them and never used them, they just sprouted fabulous. So, sunflower seeds are very interesting too. This is the sunflower right here. Here's a big tray of sunflower. True Leaf Market has the best sunflower seeds that I've gotten. But there have been times when I've experimented and I've gone down to Mary's Feed Store in Newport or Old Town, where they have, food for bird seed. And I bought a big bag of sunflower seed, bird seed, for about $10, like 20 pounds or something. And they sprouted great too. But then I got another bag at another time, and they didn't sprout so well. So it depends, but sometimes you can get lucky, and you go to a feed store and you can buy a huge bag of sunflower seeds for just a few dollars, and they'll work. Yes.
Steve, you told me you sprout in the winter. How much extra produce do you go buy in the store that's at a high price?
Hardly any. In the winter, I tell my wife, I say, Kristen, you can save money. You don't need to buy me vegetables because I got my vegetables. So I'm saving a lot of money on vegetables in the winter, definitely.
If you're using the bird seed to sprout, what are the chances that they've been fertilized with
You mean sprayed or something?
weed killer?
Yeah, I don't typically, the only one that I've tried has been the sunflower seeds. I don't typically go to a feed store to just buy any kind of bird seed and see if it'll sprout. It's a sunflower. They're called black oil sunflower seeds. Black oil sunflower seeds, which you can typically buy in a feed store, and you can try it. Parker Garlett's at True Leaf Market, we've discussed this once, and his opinion, they have organic seeds, fully organic, and they also have what they call conventional seeds, which are not organic. And his opinion is that, for those that are concerned, they should buy the organic. But he doesn't really feel like it really makes that much difference, because even if you spray a plant, the plant puts its best into the seed. And the seed is not going to have a lot of chemicals in it, maybe a little bit. And when the seed starts growing, the chemicals don't multiply like the nutrients do. So if you have a little bit in there, you're not going to have more when you grow it into a big plant. So Parker's conscience tells him it doesn't really make that much difference if you get organic or not. The sunflower seeds you can get at True Leaf Market. They have conventional and they have organic. These days I've been buying the conventional. They're a little bit less expensive. They grow great. They taste fine. And I'm not worried about a little bit that might be in there, because we get a little bit from a lot of things. I mean, even shampoo, soap, dishwashing liquid. There's chemicals in everything. And my philosophy is the more I exercise and the more nutrition I get into my body's going to get rid of, that little bit that might be in a seed. So I'm not really worried about it. But that's my opinion. Yes.
I wanted to revisit the safety issue. It seems like a few years ago there was something in the news about alfalfa
Yes.
sprouts.
I've been asked that many times.
Yeah.
Yes. And
So that's my question.
yes, the people that are in the know about this, they have said that particular case, those were commercially grown alfalfa sprouts, and you don't know exactly what happens with commercially grown, but there's never been, to my knowledge, any cases of homegrown sprouts having contamination with like E. coli or anything like that. So I don't worry about it at all. I don't. Okay, yes.
Just really quick, I was taking notes and I'm not sure that I wrote it correctly, but for that spray that you use to kill the mold,
Yes.
is that the grapeseed oil and the hydrogen peroxide together, or just either or?
Like I said, you could do either or
Okay.
and both. Yeah,
Alright.
if you just have this will probably do it. If you want to give that mold a double whammy, you can put some of this in there. If you're using a big bottle like this, a cap, they say about a half a tablespoon would do. If you have a smaller bottle, then you just put a little bit. So you just kind of monitor it, but it's not going to kill anything anyway. I mean, as far as it's not going to kill your plants. So hydrogen peroxide is a real strong sanitizer, and so is grapeseed extract.
What would you say about a preventive measure to do that before you even saw the mold?
Well, like I said, if you want to, when you soak the seeds, you could put a couple drops in the soak water for sprouts. For microgreens, you can actually just put it right in your regular spray bottle. So every time you're spraying them, you can do that as well. I typically just quickly take this over to my sink, fill it up, use it, fill it up, use it, because I'm using this a lot. But when I see the mold, that's when I've got this. But you can combine them. If you only want one spray bottle, you can do that too. So like I said, there's more than one way to, skin a cat. All you cat lovers, I'm sorry. We have 3 cats. I like cats too. Yes.
Hi. Being that being that there's limited room in the jar, how do, let's say, referring to the lentils, will they green up in the jar?
Not in the jar, but I've taken lentils out and I've planted them and they'll grow.
Oh, okay, so
You can
then
grow
that's,
lentils as a microgreen.
okay, so,
They're not as tasty. There's a whole lot of variety. Purple Rambo radish, which you can try in a little while, it has a real kick. Nasturtium has a real kick. Buckwheat is very mild. Sunflower is very mild. Lentils are very mild. There's quite a variety, just like in your garden. Someone once asked me, are the seeds you sprout the same seeds you put in your garden? Yes, they are. Their seeds are seeds.
so is there one that you can grow, sprout in the jar that is edible without doing a transplant in between? I might have missed something.
Yeah. I mean, these jars, I don't transplant these normally. I mean, when I grow peas like this, I'll soak them just for 5 hours so they'll expand. So when I put them on the soil, they're already big. But if I'm growing peas, these are peas, if I grow them in a jar, I just keep them in a jar.
Okay,
And you can just grow, so you put this much seeds in there, you soak them overnight, pour out the water twice a day, and then those peas will grow right up. And this can go, you can take the lid off, and this can go right into your salad.
Okay, so that, and they are every part of it is edible.
Oh yes, every
Okay.
part is edible, yes.
Okay, that was
Yes,
it.
every part. Now even with sunflowers, I'm glad you asked that question, because like with sunflowers, when these get big, I start to, if I see some extra seeds, I might pick them off, when they get big. But there's going to be a few in there. Now when my kids eat these, and my wife, and they love these, I'll cut them off, give them a haircut, cut them off, put them in but I'll pick the seeds off for them because my kids would rather not see the black shells. There's a few black shells here that didn't fall off, and they would rather not eat these. I don't mind at all. I don't taste them. It's just extra fiber. So most of the shells are gone, but if there's a few there, I'll cut this right off, right into my salad, and I've got some extra fiber. So it doesn't bother me a bit. So if you're finicky, you can take all the shells off. If you don't mind having a few shells, you can eat them. Okay, yes.
What beans or seeds can you not sprout?
What I can't really answer that. There's certain beans and seeds that people do on a regular basis. I did, and we were at Super One the other day, and I bought in Newport. They had some purple turtle beans, and I tried those, and they grew, but I didn't like the taste. So I said, I'm not. I tried it, and I didn't like it. So what people typically grow are the things that grow the best. Now, True Leaf Market also has what they call, they have many different seeds, and they have what's called Protein Powerhouse, which is like 5 different legumes, and they all sprout really well. So, there's Azuki, I think, that one does really well, garbanzo, mung bean. Mung bean, you can do the same thing here. I forgot to mention mung. It's super simple. Mung is, you almost can't go wrong with mung. So very easy. They have that protein. Those are harder. Yeah, those are harder to sprout. So the ones that people normally do are the azuki, the lentils, the mung, the peas, and then with the smaller trays, like up here. This is actually chia seed I grew. And so there's different things. This I think is southern giant mustard. This is arugula. I really like arugula. I grow arugula in the micromats. There's my little arugula. And ooh, it's also got a kick. But it's good. Okay, yes. Okay. Yeah, I think because I didn't have a lid, so I put a towel over it. Yes. Yeah, if I don't have maybe I don't have any lids, or I've used up my lids, then I might just put a towel over it or something. It's absolutely no problem. They'll grow. Now, if you put it by a window and it's getting full sunlight, and if it's just right there, and if you're using a micromat, so there's no dirt, you want to check it more often because it will dry out quicker. So you want to use your spray bottle and spray it. So, but yes, you do not need sprouts or microgreens will grow leaves and they'll green up, as we say, they can be far away from the window. You'll be amazed. You could put one even probably behind this little divide here, and it'll green up just fine. So it's a miracle how it does that. I mean, God is wonderful how he puts all these things together. You can probably get some. I haven't really tried growing them in a room where there's no windows with just light. Now, grow lights will accomplish that. And I don't know whether just the regular lights that are on the ceiling, if there was no windows in this room, I don't know whether that would work or not. But so like in your bathroom, I've grown things in my bathroom, but they're in the jars, and I put them under my cabinet. And then you just take them out, rinse them, pour it in the sink, put it under the cabinet, and those will grow fine. But those are sprouts. When I grow them bigger into the microgreen stage, when they're growing leaves, I want to make sure I've got a window. Okay, yes.
I grow some lentils in a casserole dish, and it's hydroponic.
Okay.
But I have to rinse the sprouts every day, or else they stink. Is that normal?
Or else they stink?
Yeah, they
Well,
smell if I don't rinse it every day.
They might be bad seeds. So if seeds don't grow well, one reason could be because they're bad. And that happens sometimes. The seeds aren't good. Another thing is if the temperature is too warm. Also, when I put them on a windowsill or if I put them on the counter somewhere with the sunlight, once they start growing bigger, I like to open the window a little bit so I can get that fresh air. Fresh air and sunlight detoxifies things. Now, with your seeds stinking like that, I'd say there's something wrong with them. But if you're growing lentils in a jar, you don't want to let them grow too long without watering them. That's why with lentils, I water them twice a day. So if you soak them and then pour the water out and then you're growing them, but if you don't put any more water in there for a couple of days, they're going to die. But I don't know if the fact that they're smelling, something's wrong with this. Yeah, I think there's something wrong with the seeds. They might just be bad seeds. Bad seeds stink. Yep. Okay, yes, and then I think you had a question over here too. Yes.
Yeah, on the, I'm doing the jar method, and if you don't eat all of them in the jar, then the ones you don't eat, do you store it in the refrigerator for the next day?
Yeah, good question. Sometimes I overshoot myself and I put too many seeds in, and then they go up and they're pushing against the lid. So if I want to grow them a little bit bigger, I might open up the jar and pour half of them in another jar. So I've got 2 jars going if you overshoot. Sometimes when I plant, like if I soak my peas and I'm going to put them in a tray and grow pea microgreens, and if I have too many, I might keep some of them in the jar and just let them grow, or I might start another tray and use 2 trays. So, you kind of learn as you go how much to grow. And if you and another thing is once you're growing the seeds in the jar like this, once they're up, if you don't want to eat them all, obviously right away, if you want to put them in the refrigerator, you want to put them in the refrigerator dry. You don't want to rinse them and then put them in the fridge. So you rinse them in the morning, and if they're ready in the evening, you put them in the fridge because you don't want seeds that are wet in the refrigerator. So sometimes I'll just put the jar right in the fridge. Sometimes I'll pour them into a baggie and put the baggie in the fridge. Typically, things like peas and lentils and rye will last in the refrigerator for a week to 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I have the 5-part salad mix, and sometimes they turn brown, the root part, not the leaves.
Yeah, how are you growing them?
In the jar method, just like you're showing.
Yeah.
I mean, I got a picture of it. I could show you.
Yeah, maybe show it to me afterwards.
The root part, looks brown.
Yeah, I don't know. Are you If you overwater them or underwater them, you're going to have a problem. If you're doing everything right and you're still having a problem, it may not be a good batch of seeds. If you got them from True Leaf Market, you can call them and say, this is what's happening, and I'm sure that they will honor and they'll get you a new batch of seeds. Okay, you had a question here, and then we'll go over here. Oh, a lot of questions. Okay.
Do you suggest, or have you ever done a mix of seeds in one jar? Like, you know, broccoli and the radish together?
Yeah, a good question. Some seeds do well together. Some seeds don't. So I've tried trays where I've grown like buckwheat, peas, sunflower, and they just don't do as well as compared to when they're in their own tray. Now, with seeds in jars, like True Leaf Market sells the 5-part salad mix, those are designed to go together. The protein power mix with the legumes, or they also have a lentil fest with 3 different kinds of lentils. They can all go together in one jar. So it depends on the mixture. There's certain seeds that they don't like other seeds. They like to be in their own bed, or in their own jar by themselves. It depends. There's a lot of variety, and you learn as you go. And True Leaf Market's website has a lot of information. Okay, here and over here. We have a couple questions over here. Can you bring the mic up to the front? Yes, okay, yes.
Maybe I missed it, but did you put your jars after the soak into like darkness? Into a dark closet or
I typically
cupboard?
don't.
Don't?
Because it doesn't really make a difference whether they're in the dark or in the light when you're dealing with sprouts. Because sprouts are just, you just grow them a little bit and then they're done. So I typically don't worry about sprouts in jars being in the dark. But when I grow the microgreens, I do put them in the dark for a couple of days. Another thing I do is, like with this, if I were to water this and let it get nice and damp and then sprinkle my seeds on and then sprinkle my azomite on there and use my spray bottle and get it nice and moist, I might take my spray bottle and I'll give this a little spray too. So it just increases kind of a greenhouse effect when it's on the top. Sometimes I put them on the top. Sometimes I spray the bottom and I put them on the bottom. It depends on the seed. If the seed is a small seed, I typically will do it this way instead of this way, because if you do it this way, when you lift it up, you're going to get seeds sometimes stuck up here, and I'd rather not have that. So with the bigger seeds, you won't get that. But so with the smaller seeds, I do it this way. With the bigger seeds, I do it this way. Sunflower also, they like weight. So when you're growing sunflowers, I typically will put it this way, and then I might put something real heavy right on top of it and let that sit in the closet. And sunflowers, Parker Garlett says at True Leaf Market, sunflowers like weight because it's kind of like, bench pressing. And they like that, pushing that up. And it's amazing. With something like this, and this is a pretty heavy container here of hydrogen peroxide, after a few days, the sunflowers will push it right up. It'll come right up. You can see that. So sunflowers, I definitely put weight on top of them. They like that. Okay, you had a question. Yes.
Okay, I think I'm off the subject here. But anyway, when you eat all this stuff, it takes the toxins out probably. And then also, too, I was thinking they have all these chemicals and stuff like creams and stuff everybody puts on their body and stuff. And when you put that on and it has chemicals, it goes into your body and it clogs up your pores. And I was told a long time ago, if you put something on your body and you can't eat it, it shouldn't be on your body.
Yeah. Recently, I have a doctor friend of mine that's really a student of B12 issues. And she says the best B12 you can put on your body is an oil that she sends me. and I just put it right on my skin. And as I've been doing that, I've become more aware of, I'm putting B12 oil on my skin and it's going right into my bloodstream. So that's just telling me that anything else I put on my skin is going to go into my bloodstream too. So, I'm careful. I use healthy soap. I use healthy shampoo. If I don't really need much shampoo these days. But, whatever I put on my body, I'm sensitive to that, because whatever you put on is going to go in. It's going to get into your bloodstream. It's going to go through your liver, and as it detoxifies it, and the liver can only take so much. So you don't want to get cancer of the liver, that's for sure. And you want to take care of your liver by trying to put as little chemicals in your body as possible. And again, the more nutrition you get in, the more your body will be able to get things out. So that's the idea. People get sick more because of nutritional deficiencies and because of too much toxicity. Dr. Sherry Rogers she's a very well-known physician. She wrote a book called Detoxify or Die, and she makes those 2 points: not enough nutrients and too many toxins. And she said the way to get rid of the toxins is to increase the nutrients. More nutrients in, more chemicals out. It's a simple principle, but it's got scientific backing. And exercise also helps your body sweat. A lot of chemicals come out right through your skin. So exercise is very important, and if you can't run a marathon, you can at least walk. You can get up and take a walk around the block. That's very good for your body. Okay, yes, any more questions? This has been really good. Yes.
A mail order only?
They have a phone number.
Okay.
And you can call them, or you can order right on their website.
Where are they?
They're in Utah.
Oh my
They're
goodness.
in Utah, and so they're not that far away. They're not in Maryland, and they're very good in shipping, and things get here quickly. And so, and like I said, if you order more than $45 worth, there's no shipping. And what I recommend, for people to take my course, for people who are taking my course, if they ask me questions, by the way, you can ask me questions, steve@sproutingwithsteve.com. steve@sproutingwithsteve.com. You can ask me questions. And so people ask me, what seed should I get? And I said, well, you should go through the course first, because then at least you'll know which seeds you want and what you want to do. If you want to do the jar method, if you want to use the sprout garden trays, if you want to grow them with soil or with microgreens in hydroponic. I typically don't buy True Leaf Market also sells dirt, but I don't buy my dirt from them because I don't need to pay the kind of shipping for them to ship dirt across country. I can go, or from Utah, I can go to a nursery or Ace Hardware or Lowe's or Walmart into their garden section and just buy a bag of organic potting mix. So from True Leaf Market, I get my seeds mainly, and some supplies I get from them as well.
Did they send you a catalog?
No, I don't think they have a catalog. I think their catalog is their website.
Okay, if you had one, that you could only one, which one would you do?
You mean for sprouting or microgreens? Well, yeah. If I had one for sprouting, I would do lentils, because it's super simple. It's very easy. Anybody can do it. It's almost foolproof. And if I had one microgreen, it would be sunflower. Sunflower is the king of microgreens. There are people that are growers. I mean, they're professional growers. They make a lot of money on growing sunflowers, and they send them to restaurants, health food stores. It's like, Bon Appetit. Sunflower microgreens are the cream of the crop. It's like the number one thing that growers grow. Personally, I also really like buckwheat because it's very mild and it's got a nice flavor, and I really like it. Peas are also a great one. Yeah, so like I said, these are my staples, and I've really gotten into purple Rambo radish. I don't like radish in my garden. I've never grown radish. I don't like radish, but for some reason, when I grow purple Rambo radish as a microgreen, it gives just a flavor in the rest of my salad, and I like it. So how do you explain that? I don't know. Yeah, I got a lot of energy. Yeah, all of these things give me energy. Yeah. Okay, any more questions? Looks like the ladies are ready to, is this for the drawing? You ready to do the drawing? Okay, two things.
We want to mention that our next health program at this church is overcoming or reversing diabetes. It's on Sunday night and starts April 10th. Could everybody hear what I said?
Sunday night,
Okay.
April 10th, I think you said.
Overcoming or reversing diabetes is the next health class that we're going to have at this church. It's going to be here in this room. It starts April 10th from 4 to 6 p.m. and it goes through June 12th. It's not just for reversing diabetes, it's also for it'll change if you want to change your lifestyle. And we're going to pass out little flyers now. So now we're going to draw. Do you want to draw?
Why don't we have one of the girls do it?
All
One of
right.
these, a kid in the back. She's got her hand up. She wants to do it. Why don't you come up and just take you can pick in the drawing. And then before you guys all leave, I want to take a picture of you and show my wife and my kids. Hey, this people came to my sprouting class.
Heidi Markland.
Hey, over there. So what is she winning again?
She's winning a sprouting jar.
You're
and
getting a jar
Jan's
with a
bringing
lid
it.
and seeds.
Okay,
So that's pretty cool.
here we go. We've got 6 of those.
That is good.
You need to dig down. Maida Delury, did I say that correctly? Yeah. Right by Lenny. Okay, Maya Bastos Masias. There you are. Manila Noguera. I'm sorry if I'm just slaughtering your name. Morella. Raise your hand. There you go. So we've done 4. No. Jenny Resendez. And we have one more. Joel Rittenauer. Do one more. Two more. Kim Chapkus. Oh, yay. Right here, Lenny. One more. Margie Llewellyn, my cousin. That's it.
That's it. Okay, well, thank you for that. Before we leave, let me again let you know that we have books for you, a free book. I think we have about 75 books. I hope that's enough for everybody. If there's just in case we're kind of tight, if there's a couple, like a husband and wife, you might want to take just one instead of 2, or if we have enough, you can have 2. So we got those books there. Here, again, if you want to come up and take a little taste of a couple of these, the buckwheat, the sunflower, the purple Rambo radish, and the peas, we've got there. Books you can look at about sprouting. And then again, I've got our other books from White Horse Media over there. If you're interested in those books, I hope this has been a helpful couple hours for you. Pretty energizing. Hope it's been valuable. You're welcome. Very good. Thank you. And let me just take a picture of all of you before I want to show my wife and my kids that people actually did come to my class. So smile. Let me get that side and over here. Smile. Great. Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here. And you can do it. Remember that.